So I actually thought this was an ISNS call. I didn't really realize until the last minute that it was actually a root call. So I apologize for showing you this ISNS. But
well,
anyway.
Dory, it is, we're talking about ISNS, and I was going to bring that up. So this is absolutely fine because we will be discussing at least one of the case studies. So this is perfect.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So great. Well, okay. So this is our science call today with Dr. Christina Rahm with ISNS and in collaboration with Root. But before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and read the medical disclaimer. And the information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. We do not aim to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease, and you should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. And the information in this presentation has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration or any other medical body. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Dory Narbo. And again, for those of you who don't know me, I am a clinical researcher and an author of several books. And I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Christina Rahm, who is the CEO, Chief Science Officer, and in collaboration with the International Science and Nutrition Society, ISNS, Cure the Cause. And when I think of Dr. Rahm, she is a modern day Renaissance woman with a wagon load basically of talent, has one of the most impressive CVs I've seen. And as I've said before, I mean, her CV is like, well, it's like a book, literally like a book. And she has doctorates with postdoc work from Harvard University in nanobiotechnology, from bioengineering and nanotechnology graduate program. She's been an adjunct professor for Johns Hopkins in the areas of oncology, orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery. And she's also worked for companies such as Janssen, Johnson & Johnson, Biogen, Biogen-Idec, UCB, Pfizer, Bristol Myers Squibb, Alexion. And she's also an author, Cure the Causes. And, basically, I think, Christina, don't you say, live the, okay, never mind. I'm not going to say it because I'm going to screw it up.
Live the life you want, not the one you've been prescribed.
Thank you. So and Dr. Rahm has created multiple provisional patents, proprietary formulations, trade secrets, and she is a sought after formulator. But before any of her accolades, she is a daughter, she is a mother, she is a sister, a wife, a scientist, and my beautiful friend and colleague. So Dr. Christina Rahm.
Thank you, Dory. I appreciate that. And first of all, I think the world of Dory, you guys probably already know, and I think the world of this Root community. Dory has more accolades than I do, but she always compliments me, so I really appreciate it. And today I'm so excited because this is our kickoff. We've worked really hard at the International Science Nutrition Society. We are not allowing members in because we are getting ready to launch that, and the Root community will have a very special place. And it's been my dream for years because I've been in so many societies and I've started different ones to be able to kick something off that we could really have a lot behind it before it even started. And that's where the International Science Nutrition Society will be very instrumental to the Root community, because we've done a lot of case studies that you guys are going to have access to. And we've studied a lot of science. But today I really want to focus on one of the ingredients that is in our products, the Black Cumin Seed. I want to talk about this, and I'm going to bring up articles that you guys can present and teach people in your group. If you have an individual within your group that is a scientist or a practitioner or a doctor or a healthcare provider or a wellness coach, they would probably do a great job doing meetings to discuss what we're going to discuss today. But a lot of people ask me, why do you put certain ingredients in the products? And then a lot of times they'll ask if we're going to change certain things. I am a nanobiotechnologist. If I put a ingredient in a formula, it is because I want it to be more bioavailable through the body for the main ingredients. And what I mean by that is when I work on formulas, there's the main things that I put in. And then the other formulas that I put in, like the cane sugar, D-ribose, different kinds of preservatives, are because of either shelf life so that you guys can use it for 2 years, or it's because of the ability for the product to go throughout the body and to be used by the body more effectively. But black cumin seed oil is one of the ingredients that not only has it been used throughout history of our worlds, of our nations, of our societies, it's also something from a scientific perspective that we've used with biotech and pharma, but also can be used naturally in nutraceutical supplements to really help people. So I'm going to start off by talking about this product because I really want you guys, when you take the different products at Root, to know what ingredients are inside and how they help your body, and then how you can educate people on it. And I've said this before, you can go and buy black cumin seed, right, at the store. But if you want to buy a formula that's used different types of nanotechnology and formulations that can really make it be used throughout the body, then you want to use the Root products, because I've studied products for years. I've never been at a company where they've let me do what I wanted with the product. You guys know I've been at past pharmaceutical and nutraceutical companies, but this is the first time I really have been allowed to take a formulation and do what is needed. So I did want to kick it off about black cumin seed oil. And I know that one of the things that's on everybody's mind is COVID-19. But another thing that's on everyone's mind that we keep not talking about is we all also have health issues, right? We have autoimmune disorders. We have things in our bodies we want to fix, we want to help. So I am going to focus on how this particular ingredient, and I'd like to talk to Dory about it through this as well, because she is actually on the International Science Advisory Board with me. We are getting ready to make an announcement who the face of that company will be, because I'm actually chairman of the company, but I'm not going to be the face of the International Science Nutrition Society. I'm like Dory. I'm going to be one of the advisors. We will very shortly through marketing announce a leader. You guys are going to be very excited to hear who that is. But in the society, we do talk a lot about the literature and ingredients and how they help from a science and nutrition perspective. Dory, I'll let you go over the slide, and then I'm going to go into the first research article to discuss black cumin seed.
Okay, I hear something. Okay, so with black cumin seed, this is a presentation that we did. Well, actually, we did this on the Restore product, and we showed this slide because black cumin seed has so many different functions. And with the thymoquinone, the active ingredient of it, you can see that it affects nearly every, it has neurological effects, it has rheumatological, dermatological, gastric, intestinal, even affects, it has sexual function. It affects there. It's an anti-diabetic, anti-obesity. There's so many functions, and most importantly, in what's going on, cardiovascular effects is amazing. And so this was one article that we looked at. And then so I'm just going to go through these slides really quickly. You guys can, get these slides if you want. If we want to, we want to have these available for our people, right, Christina?
I would like them to have it. Are they the ones that I sent, that were sent over?
Well, I can add those, but this is actually one of the studies that we went over before. Yeah. This is one of the ones you're going to actually talk about. Let me see here. I have, promising natural compound with potential benefits for COVID-19 and prevention and cure.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about them, Dory, or I can start talking about them, it's fine. But yes, I do want the ability for them to have access to these.
Okay. Well, we can create a PDF and then they can have access to it.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay. So this particular article talks about how this ingredient, black cumin seed, and you guys probably know this, it's called sativa, Nigella sativa is the other name for it, but it binds to the viral spike active site to prevent basically the damage and comorbidity. And that's really, really important. Of course, we make no claims that our products cure anything, but this ingredient I used in Restore, and I used it in a formulation to make sure it could go into the body and not just bind to viral particles, but also to bacteria, fungus, and parasites, because this particular article talks about how it's doing that with spike proteins and how it becomes activated, and it can prevent basically, let me explain this in a different way. It will lower the ability for the virus to grow and to go throughout the body. It actually will kind of quiet it and make it not important to the body, is a way you can say it, so that it doesn't spread or become horrible. Because the issue is not viruses, right? We have good viruses, good bacteria, good parasites in our body. It's when they overcome the body and take over that it becomes a negative thing. And because Nigella, how it's made, how the black cumin seed is made, it's able to, it doesn't just use dimethyl. It also used dimethyl and cytoquinolone. It actually has 6 mechanisms of action where it, and not to get too scientific, but where it blocks the ability of something like a viral particle to duplicate, and it also makes it weaker. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys know this, Corona, so COVID was named because of what it looks like under a microscope. And you guys know I'm a scientist, so I've talked about this a lot. I look at the human body as something that's magical, right? It's so amazing. It's this complete machine that has a living city in there, right? So when we take the coronavirus under a microscope, the reason it was named Corona is it looks like a crown. So a lot of people don't know that's why it was named that. You know, it's been around for years, and it looks like a crown, and it has these proteins and everything that basically attach and make it go into the human body. If you use something like a black cumin seed, so that it is not as important, so it's not as strong, so it kind of blocks it and it can't duplicate, then you're basically taking the power away from that virus. And it's not just this virus that black cumin seed is able to do that with. If you really look at the article that Dory just showed, it's able to do that with viral particles and viruses. So again, it allows the body and the organs of the body, like the lungs and the heart and the brain, to be protected, which is why it was so important when Restore was made that it didn't just go into the GI, but it would be able to be used throughout the body, which is one of the reasons when I talk about the dosing of Restore, if it was up to me, people would take it 3 times a day, even if it's just 1 packet, and you break it into 3 times a day. And the reason that's important to me is I do know that black cumin seed can last throughout the body from 12 to 24 hours. However, to maintain it at its high peak plasma level, you really want to take it about 3 times a day. I don't talk about that a lot because I'm worried that then people will forget to take it, and I want them to have at least 1 packet a day. But if you guys could remember, the best option would be, I know Dory takes, and I take 3 whole packets a day, but, and Dory, I know sometimes you do 4, but if you guys are taking 1 packet a day, what you'll want to do is break it up into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And again, the reason I haven't talked about that a lot is in the beginning, I just wanted people to get it into their system to start protecting their bodies. I'm talking about 1 ingredient that's at a high concentration in Restore. We're going to go into the other ingredients on other calls, but today I really wanted to focus on this one. So every time you guys are taking Restore, you're thinking about what it's giving to your body and how important it is. When you're giving it to your children, for example, I would prefer, if I had an option, that you would give them a little bit at each meal, right? Rather than just once a day. And again, I know that's not always possible because it's even like my morning this morning, I've already had 4 Zoom calls, right? And so it's been a really busy morning. I took one, it took the whole packet this morning. I actually took a second one. If you ask me, why did you take 2 this morning? I was worried, I'm so busy today, there's not really a break, that I'll forget to take more than I'll forget to take more of the product, right? So the reason I'm telling this to you all is not because I'm trying to get people to take more, because again, I'm saying if you take that packet and you break it out into 3, that's better for you because you keep it throughout your system. The reason that's important to me goes back to what Dory just showed you all. That article talks about the vascular system, right? And it talks about comorbidities. It talks about viruses and how they come in and they actually change your body and they open you up to other autoimmune disorders. I want to stop right here and pause for a second and tell you guys this. Environmental factors cause autoimmune diseases. We used to think it was genetic as scientists. We then realized that it was an environmental factor that would cause the body to basically open up the genetics and the epigenetics so that something could be caused like multiple sclerosis or psoriasis or rheumatoid arthritis. So if you look at a virus, it's not just the virus that's the concern. It's the bacteria and the fungus and the ability that that virus can start an autoimmune disorder or make a current autoimmune disorder worse. So it's very important that we quiet the virus, and not just COVID, but any virus that's trying to come into our bodies, that we try to protect it with things like Black Cumin Seed. I'm going to pause right there. Dory, do you have any comments on that? Because I know we've talked about this before. Oh, one more thing I don't want to forget before you talk, Dory. I will want to go into the second article after this on zinc, because I do want to explain to everybody the importance of zinc with Black Cumin Seed as well. But I want to open.
I didn't see that article, but you know, this article here, I think was, can you guys see this one? This one here is really interesting.
Is it the one revisiting pharmacological?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very good article. We're going to post this for you guys.
Yeah.
The one Dory talking about is showing how it can prevent and cure, that it's a promising option. And of course, we can't say we cure anything.
Yeah,
So I'm going to let Dory talk about.
No, we're not curing anything. But what I thought was really interesting about this was, okay, when we look at autophagy, right? So this is the process where, you know, it's basically, I think of it like kind of like a dump truck, taking out the trash, right? And what I thought was really interesting about this article when they talk about the Black Cumin Seed was that it acts as a cardioprotective agent, and then it's you know, the way it actually, like, because they tried it with what is this other stuff here they were trying? Oh, they actually tried it together with an autophagy inhibitor. And then they found out that the Black Cumin Seed actually was had the cardioprotective properties. And
because at first, Dory, they were thinking it was other compounds, and then they realized they actually, there's another study, and I don't know if it's in here, but it shows that if you isolated the Black Cumin Seed, it was able to do it alone, right?
Yes, exactly. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is saying, that it actually can do it by itself. So they're basically saying how beneficial it is to have it. And then they went on to talk about, you know, we've talked about this before about hyperinflammation. I like to call it hyperinflammation, but it actually is a cytokine storm, right?
Yeah.
And so in this article here, it talks about how it affects the cytokine storm and how it can downregulate some of these pro-inflammatory markers, and that, you know, and why we start talking about like high sensitivity CRP testing, right? Because this type of testing, you can see the inflammation. And on these patients here, they actually had high sensitivity. They had high CRP markers, which leads to the issues with ARDS, respiratory failure, and cardiovascular failure and things like that. So, and this can help mitigate that with the Black Cumin Seed.
And you guys probably know this. one of the problems that's happening is the pulmonary vascular issues, right? When it pertains to this virus, people are getting pneumonia. And also what's happening is the cardiovascular issues, to Dory's point. So the particular article discusses how it's protecting that at the same, so it's lowering basically the ability for the virus to spread throughout the body, but then at the same time, it's protecting the vascular system and the heart from any comorbidities, which is huge. And that's why for me, it's such a major issue, or it's so important to me that people are taking a product that's able to do that. And this particular article is called Revisiting the Pharmacological Potential of Nigella sativa seeds. You're going to see it in the silver and platinum group. That's where we're going to post it. And we're also going to post a summary of this article. But this is called A Promising Option for COVID-19 Prevention and Cure. And again, we don't say we cure anything. This is the article that we will post. And it is peer reviewed. It is from a reputable journal. And then we're going to post a summary. And the reason we're doing that is we're going to give to you guys the ability to have the actual article and then the summary. And the summary is written in basically a 8th grade level term. And what I mean by that is for you guys to be able to communicate it to others, you need to talk very simply about it so that they understand what you're saying. You don't want to get into the huge science words and complication because that won't be helping anyone. And our goal here at Root is not to be arrogant, not to be egotistical, not to think we're smarter than other people, because that's irrelevant in the scheme of things. My mother always says, if you're a homecoming queen or you're smart or you're wealthy, you can't go to heaven on that, right? Our goal here is to be good and to share. And so what we're doing is we're taking each article, we're doing a summary, and then you guys are going to be able to ask questions at the beginning of each science meeting so we can help answer what we talked about the week before. We will also try to get to some of the questions about these articles at the end of this call. And we're asking Ted Baker and Sandy to help us with that, and Claire, so that we make sure that we get through the questions. But this is
sorry to cut across you, but I just had a really great idea, thinking like we should actually post an article before we have our call to let people actually read it so they can come up with some questions. And then we
great idea. Great
that.
idea. And this time we're talking about a lot of articles. So just so you guys know, I know this is a lot for today. We may not get through everything, but my intention, and you're right, Dory, we need to. I didn't want to distract them by posting 7 articles because there's so many, but I think if we could post one before each call, because we will be doing these every week. Like next week, Dr. Keshke Shinjuja from Hungary will be on this call talking about an Olympic swimmer that's the #1 swimmer actually in the world, who's been using our products, who says that our products have caused him to become this great swimmer because 0N helps him focus. So we will also post an article. We're trying to figure out what the best way is to give you guys the information you want. And you guys probably know this. I know Dory and I are very similar. We want to help you all. Our goal is scientifically for you guys to have everything in your hands so you can talk about it, and then to have the translations. And so we're working really hard to give you guys what you want so that we can help you and so that you can help others. But that's a great idea, Dory. This first article, actually, we've already talked about 2, which talk about how this product protects, are very important. So after you see them, if you have additional questions, again, please ask us. I am going to move on to what we just talked about, Dory, the one about zinc and about Black Cumin Seed. This title of this article, again, it's another, you're going to see this and you're going to see the summary. It was published in the emergency collection. So you guys probably know this. When COVID came into play, we had this emergency authorization for the vaccines, right? And for antivirals. Well, this particular article talks about the benefits of Black Cumin Seed and zinc supplements. It talks about the fact that if you use the Black Cumin Seed and the zinc together, that it actually makes it better. But it goes back, Dory, to what you talked about earlier. They also in the article talk about Black Cumin Seed alone has the ability to impact absolutely impact COVID. It says that up to 40 to 80 milligrams a day. So if you look at the Restore again, the more you take, the better you're protecting your body. If you look at the details of this article, you can take less than that, but they do recommend that you have it throughout your body at least once a day. And again, I recommend more than once a day. I love this particular article because it talks about it's a natural substitute of an antiviral. You guys probably know this. All of these governments are pushing all this medication, right? And I've said this a million times. If we could protect our bodies when the virus comes into our bodies or around us, then it will help lessen the effect on our body, lessen the effect of the immune system, heighten the effect of the immune system being able to deal with it, but it will cause, it will really help the body in this huge fight that we're in. This is not a fight. I want you guys to know this. It's not a fight really with just a virus like COVID-19. When COVID goes into the body, I just want to go back to this. Bacteria grows, fungus grows, parasites grow. One of the things I love about Black Cumin Seed, resveratrol, and turmeric, especially with used together, and if you use a catalyst like apple cider vinegar and D3, you're able to take that throughout the body and not just fight the virus, but also fight the bacteria, fungus, and parasites. Because one of the things that's happening is people will get diagnosed with COVID pneumonia, right? And we talked about this earlier, the lungs and the heart are affected. What's so great, going back to that first slide, and Dory, you may want to show it again with the human body, is this particular ingredient, and turmeric and resveratrol are very similar, are able to protect all the organs of the body, right? They're able to help protect the vascular system because of the mechanisms of action. But they did show an enhanced uptake of these different ingredients. And I've seen this with Black Cumin Seed. I've seen it with turmeric. I've seen it with the other ones with zinc. If you guys ask, why didn't I use zinc in the formula? There's actually another formula that we will be testing with the root community that does have the zinc in it with the niacin and with the, because we know zinc, niacin, vitamin D, and vitamin C are very important, right? So this week we will get the samples of one of the formulas I've produced, which does have that in there, that we will be sending samples out to see if it's something the root community is interested in having. But you guys can also go just buy zinc. I want to say this, you don't have to have zinc for Black Cumin Seed to work. And all the articles show that. Like you see all this research that Dory and I actually are presenting today. But if you look into the research, when they took the other things away from the Black Cumin Seed, it as a standalone product, if it's used the right way and being able to distribute throughout the body, will lower the ability for the virus even to get into the body. And then the second part is, if once it does get in, it lowers the ability for it to duplicate. So what that means is, okay, you've got COVID-19, but it can't keep growing and it can't keep duplicating. And that's really what you need to happen, and what your family members need to happen when they're approached by this virus, because you guys know there's different variations that are occurring right now. And there's one study that shows it's happening every 10 days. And then I recently saw a study that showed it's happening every 10 hours. So there's very many variations of this, right? There's lots of it. That's fine. None of us need to stress out about it or worry about it. What we need to do is make sure that we're lowering, again, the viral load. Whether you've had a vaccine or not had a vaccine, Black Cumin Seed is a very protective ingredient. If it's manufactured and made the right way, it can help your body so that it's stronger and so the immune system really works in a better effect. Do you want to add anything to the zinc article, Dory?
No, but I was just actually curious about, like, if, say, for example, you do have something, how often do you think, not that we're prescribing or anything,
Yeah.
but how often would you take like a Restore or something, like in order to have that kind of full protection of the Black Cumin Seed?
I mean, I would have people take it 3 times a day. That's what I'm saying. If it was an option that people were taking it, I would have them take it 3 times a day. Because your peak plasma and your steady state, now of course you're sleeping through an 8-hour period. And this goes back to people asking me, do you take it in the morning or at night? I think you guys all know that if you take something at night before you go to bed, your body's working and your cells are basically regenerating and they're getting better. So honestly, I do better when I take something. The Restore gives me energy, right? So I love taking it during the day. However, I do now take it at night. Black cumin seed oil, and we don't have one of the articles in front of us, I don't think, Dory, but it actually helps you with hormone defective disorder, like with the hormones, and it also helps you with sleep. And there's lots of articles on that, just like there's lots of articles about how this particular ingredient helps with fungus and parasites. So for me to tell people they shouldn't, I mean, really, they should take it at night. But again, if it was my preference, they'd take it at least 3 times a day. Now, if someone were sick and we can't prescribe, but I would have them, if someone was sick or suffering from an autoimmune disorder, 3 to 5 times a day, I would make sure that they were hammering that throughout the day. Just like when Clayton got sick, he's been taking it throughout the day. And when I was sick, I took it throughout the day. But we have to understand that not everyone has the ability to have the money to do that constantly throughout the day. So if you'll break those packets up and do it, that's what is the most important thing to do. And you may have a different idea on that, Dory. What are your thoughts?
Oh, no, I totally agree. I was just thinking, like, just so that it's in your system over a longer period of time. And no, I think it's I mean, I do like 3 or 4 packs a day. I just can't help myself. It's so good.
Well,
But anyways,
there's an article, actually a couple articles that show about the anti-aging effects of this product, which kind of leads me to the next article that is called Black Cumin Seed, Nigella sativa, and its constitute effects, a review on antimicrobial effects.
Yeah, this was a good
And
one.
everything always, Dory, everything always says thymoquinone, but just so you know, and I'm sure you're aware, it's not just thymoquinone that is such a great thing about Black Cumin Seed. Like I said, it actually is the other mechanisms of action, like thiamiclone, I can't ever say it right, and thymylhydroquinolone. I mean, there's a lot of effects that this particular product has. And that's why, like, even when you look at the article that we talked about previously, which is the pharmacological effects of this, it talks about diabetes, cardiovascular disorders. It talks about how it helps with skin disorders. And this other one that we just discussed that everyone's going to have on antimicrobial is more about the bacteria. So when I said to you guys, my concern about COVID is not just the virus, it's the bacteria, the fungus. You got to keep everything down. You don't want to get rid of the good bacteria in your stomach or your body. You don't. And that's what I think I love about Black Cumin Seed. Like your silver ions, which I love as well. The problem with silver ions and different other types of products is they can get rid of the good bacteria. What I love about the Black Cumin Seed is it's kind of like a zeolite. It attracts the things it needs to and helps, and then it protects. It is very, very valuable. So in the article about antimicrobial, you guys ask a lot of questions about rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis and asthma and bronchitis and headaches and fever and eczema. This article right here that you guys are going to get with the summary. So we've written out a summary. So again, we have given you guys the tools that you'll have just a paragraph that tells you what that whole article says so you can discuss it with others. This particular article talks about oral and topical. And I love it because you guys know, like my skin yesterday, my son even said we were trying to videotape that my skin didn't look great. I used the Restore on it again last night. I forgot to use it for about a week. I noticed a huge difference. And I've talked about all the skin cancer I've had and how that's helped me. It's because one of the reasons is because of the effect of the Black Cumin Seed oil. So this particular article talks about the vitamins, the minerals, the carbohydrates, the fats and proteins, and the 8 or 9 vital amino acids that are in this product, this ingredient. I don't know if you guys realize that, because a lot of people will say, well, why didn't you add more vitamins? Why didn't you add more minerals? The thing is, the ingredients that are in Restore have it within them. And so it's part of them. We just didn't add additional vitamins and minerals. And Dory, I don't know what you thought about that particular article, but it also talked about the gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. It also talked about parasites. Like, I think that particular article is going to be extremely helpful to you all when you talk to people. And again, I want to go back to this. If people say to you, well, why can't I just go up and buy Black Cumin Seed oil? It's one of the ingredients. You guys, if once we get through this series and talk about every element of Restore and how it's made with the nano emulsion and nano encapsulation, you'll start understanding why you feel and look better, because each one of those provides another layer of protection and provides another layer of giving your body what it needs to be the best it can be. So, Dory, what are your thoughts on this? Because I don't know if you noticed what that article said. It also said that it's almost like an antibiotic.
Oh yeah, totally. Because we're looking at antifungal activity. And then they also did a study here on candida, right?
Yes.
And so that was really interesting as well. Antifungal, viral, also anti-parasitic as well. A lot of people talk about that and the parasites and things like that.
Yeah. So Dory, going back to that, it does talk about the candida and the fungus. I say this a lot to you guys. 50% of the people that die in a morgue or hospital is from fungus, because once the body starts shutting down, fungus just keeps growing. So if any of you guys have issue with fungal infections of any kind, let's just talk openly about it. Vaginal infections, jock infections, all of that stuff on your feet, right? You can use actually Restore on your feet. You can use it on your body. You need to be careful certain places that you use it, because it'll sting, right? But or it could cause some discomfort. But if you take it orally or use it topically in that area, it will help get rid of it helps support the body. There's tons of articles about how it even helps the most resistant yeast. And you guys, the best part of this is a natural product, and it's not something that you have to go get a prescription for, because we use this in a natural way. We use it in a way to be delivered throughout the system so that it can help significantly with things. And there's another article, which I don't know if we'll have time to get to it today, but it talks about reinforcing the immune system. So there's numerous 5 mechanisms of action, basically, how this product protects people and provides what's needed in the body. And a lot of it is the pathways. I'm just going to say this as simple as I can. It's the pathways of how it communicates with the organs, with the cells, and with the body. And at the same time protects, right? So it's communicating and it's protecting the different areas, and it's helping with any comorbidity. So there's so many articles on it when it pertains to diabetes, and we'll get into that. There's so many as it pertains to rheumatoid arthritis, to psoriasis, to eczema, to different types of really hard to treat bacteria and yeast. And you guys are going to get 5 to 6 of those articles today with the summaries, so that you can translate those and go to other people and explain why one of the reasons, right, Restore works. One of the reasons, or some of the reasons why Restore is great, because again, it goes back to the fact that we have a lot more to talk about as it pertains to that particular product. And we don't have to make claims. We can simply show them the articles that we have and why it was used and what it does. And I think it's very important. You know, I talk a lot about, we're in this not just physically, we're in this mentally and emotionally and spiritually together. And I really believe that, you know, we are energy, right? We have energy and light to share with others. And part of that energy is our knowledge and our ability to do that in a very positive, humble way. And we have a product that has an ingredient in it that during COVID was extremely hard to obtain from the places that I wanted to get it from, because Black Cumin Seed is made in different areas. And I wanted to get it from the right source. And I wanted to utilize it in a way where it would help the body in the most effective way. And I've talked about this a little bit. It took 9 months to do that. So it's very important that you guys understand that it is a product that is helping with the mRNA expression. So you know how we talk about the vaccines and how they're made? Just so you guys know, Black Cumin Seed is known, and we talk about it in this article that you guys are going to get. And again, this one's called The Potential Influence of Black Cumin in Reinforcing Immune System, a Hope to Decelerate the COVID-19 Pandemic. It talks about how the immune regulatory effect and what it does, and how it basically down regulates the interferon gene so that your body is able to fight it. There's also in the article an actual diagram that you guys can show people on how this particular product helps with the cellular immunity and the immune response. Now, I want to stop and say to you guys, I don't want to make this complicated for people. So know your audience. Like when you're in front of someone, you don't want to make it too complicated. You can just say this product provides and protects. But the reason I wanted you guys to have the summaries is you can give people the summaries and then they can look up the article themselves and they can understand the ingredients that are in this product and how it's helping their body, so that they're thinking about how it's helping it while it's thinking. Because if you can incorporate your thought process into understanding what this product does, it helps you even more. I don't know how you feel about it, Dory, but I've seen tons of studies and I've been part of a lot of studies, and I know you have too, where it's the way people think and their energy and how they're visualizing things that actually help them get better when they're sick. And it's not just the products that you give them. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I know you've told me some stories about the stem cell clinics, though, where you've seen it yourself.
Oh, absolutely. The way you think and really has an effect over your cells. As absolutely. Like I think I told you before, the doctors used to have a game that they would play called Guess the Coordinator, and found out that they were wondering why my patients were doing better than other patients. And it was because we optimized them, but not just optimizing on a cellular function, but on a cellular level, but also the way they think and just their attitude in general. Okay, we have to mute Frank.
Yeah, that is something that just so you all know, in a lot of studies I was in, and I've said this many times to you all, but we would go to treat them with a very expensive human monoclonal antibody. One of them in particularly cost, $500,000 to $800,000 a year per patient, which is very expensive. We'd go in to treat and they were already better. And one of the things we noticed was the spiritual and mental effects of people around them that were positively trying to help them energetically. And so that's when people ask me what I think about that, I'm 100% sure in my mind, because I've seen it throughout my career when I worked with very reputable companies where it was the spiritual aspect, the emotional aspect that helped influence it. I do want to talk about one more thing before we get off, and then I'm going to let you guys ask some questions. I'm going to try to look at the chat board and hopefully have Sandy and Claire and Ted help me. The last one, Dory, is the one that we discussed, a promising natural remedy for a wide range of illnesses. This is an article that I really like. And the reason I like it is it talks about HIV and it talks about AIDS. And many of you guys know I worked at Bristol Myers Squibb. I worked on HIV. And the article discusses how after the administration of Black Cumin Seed, the summary, and you guys will see it in the summary that you get, after they administered the Black Cumin Seed, the viral load of HIV went down. Mm-hmm. And it's an alternative in many countries to actually doing your antiviral treatments with HIV. And again, I don't encourage people not to do different treatments, because I know I worked for Bristol Myers Squibb. We were able to help a lot of people, but it's interesting in that article because they actually show how they utilized it. And I don't know if you guys know this, but if you have HIV and it never becomes AIDS, you can live 30, 40, 50 years, right? You just don't want it to become AIDS. And so if you can lower that viral load by using different things, you're able to have a healthy life. And you have to keep on it. You can't stop. You know, one of the things I hear from people sometimes is, I'm tired of taking a nutraceutical supplement. I'm tired of worrying about my body. And my answer to that is, your body is so important. I wish I could share with people how important each life is in the world, because it is. We're each uniquely different. And you have to take care of what's inside of this shell, right? It's what's inside that's important. But I think what's so awesome about Restore, and I know Dory and I both have pointed this out a lot, but it can be used on the skin topically. We could have launched it as a skin care product. Ted Baker has come to me numerous times and said, can we have a skincare product like Restore? And I said, we already have Restore. Like, if he goes, I know, but if we launch that product for the skin and people used it just on their skin, it would be a blockbuster product. And I said, I hope the ambassadors are sharing with people how much it helps with skin. And we're giving you guys the tools today. Dory, we're giving the tools that talked about eczema, psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. You can read, these are studies, you all. These are not just like an article that you get off of MedMD or WebMD. They're articles where they did peer review studies, double-blind studies, or reviews of double-blind studies where they see this. And so I don't ever feel like we have to make claims at Root, because we're using ingredients. We have the amount on the back of those packets that you guys see, and we know the effects of these products. And when you take Restore, I'm using it in a pure form with nano encapsulations with the D3, so that it's going throughout the body, right? And of course, I know we've talked about this, but if you look at the Trinity, and next week, you know, Dory, I think it's going to be exciting to hear Dr. Keshkesh talk about the Olympic athlete. If you can use all those three products synergistically together, then you've really got your body taking the things to really help it throughout the day.
Yeah. One of the things I think is really interesting is that the Black Cumin Seed also affects the pathway is NFKB. And that's a really important pathway for inflammatory issues. I mean, it's a major pathway. So that's one thing that I think is really interesting. The other thing about that article that you're talking about is the neurological effects, right? Like here's a whole list of the neurological effects. And like, for example, I don't think we really didn't discuss this, neurological and mental disorders. For example, Alzheimer's, we have Parkinson's, depression and anxiety. And it was interesting because in depression and anxiety, they actually talk about the findings, the mechanism of action was to actually increase serotonin, and then epilepsy, and then opioid dependence and tolerance as well. So these are really interesting studies that you guys will be getting.
We started, you guys don't know this, but I've talked about it a little bit within the Platinum and I think the Silver group. We've been working on this from the beginning, and we've got binders and binders now of studies that have summaries for you all, where it's broken out so that you can just, if you don't want to read the whole article, you have the summary, right? And the summary has the points. But then again, when you are introducing this to a customer, know your audience. Like, for example, I'm going to use me as an example. I live in, Nashville, Tennessee, and I've got a group of female friends that I'm very close to, but they're not scientists and they're not doctors. Now, I have some friends that aren't scientists and doctors, but they're like Ted or Clayton and you guys, they know a lot about the human body, probably more than other scientists and doctors, right? So I can have these discussions and they want these articles, but my friends that are taking care of their kids and their mothers, or they're doing different things and they don't want to become a scientist or know everything. If I were you all, for example, I would take this summary, and again, you've got an article that's 50 pages that you don't have to read because we're going to provide the summary. And then what I would do is I would highlight certain things from the article. For this one, which talks about HIV, I could just read through this. I'd go to the very bottom. It says, in patients with HBC infection, after the administration of Black Cumin Seed, they showed significant improvement in viral load. That's all I would do, is take that one sentence and be able to discuss people and then say, you know, this is one of our ingredients in our product. And I don't have to make claims. There's tons of research around it. Now, I want to stop and let you guys know, we are doing double-blind placebo-controlled trials. Dory knows this. We also are doing case studies that we're going to submit and make white papers for you all that are from root. So not just the ingredients, but from us about the products, and from International Science Nutrition Society as the group reviewing it about the products. So I don't want you to think you're not going to get those, because absolutely, we meet every Monday. We work throughout the week on this. There's actually 2 people in the office that work with us on making sure that we get all of this done and get this to you. But this is a start of being able to give you guys the tools, and then you guys being able to say to us, okay, this is great, but we need X, Y, and Z, because we do care what you think. We want to make sure that you have the articles, but don't feel like you have to read all of them. Just read the summaries if you want, but if you want to read the whole thing, read the whole thing, and then just pick out 1 or 2 things. Now you guys are having articles in front of you that talk about the diabetes and the eczema and the rheumatoid arthritis and different things. And then you can keep asking questions, but this is a good start. So do we want to take, let's take about 5 minutes to ask questions?
Yes, because we have another call that we need to.
Oh, no, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, we're gonna do 5 minutes. So if you guys have a question, and there's not any question that we're not open to, so please feel free to ask questions and just raise your hand.
Christina, there's some in the chat.
Okay.
Even Clayton put a question there.
You ask, is the Clino in Clean Slate colloidal or nanotized or neither? I used orthoxylic acid and a zeolite, and then I used nano encapsulation with polarization with magnets. And so there's parts of that the answer is yes, that there's a nano emulsion, nano encapsulation. Ted and Clayton and Dory all know this. I talked to you guys about the fact that we did 14 patents last year that were provisional. I actually, in the last 2 weeks, I was trying to remember, have submitted 3 full patents, which take a little bit of time. We're submitting for the 4th today. I do want to talk a little bit about that on the next call. One of the patents that I've talked about early when we started Root has to do with lectin. And lectin is in the seeds and oils. So for Restore and for Zero In, one of the things that I was able to do is to take the good parts of lectin, because lectin is in plants, flowers, seeds, and oils, right? And it's good unless you have the negative properties of lectin, which can be toxic. So some of these people that do like seed-based companies, if they don't take the lectin out, then there's a lot of issues, because if you use it long-term, it can be toxic for the body. So I did a patent, which is a very long process, and I got to show Ted and Clayton. I need to send it over to Dory today, but I got to show them the process, which talks about the steps. I think there's 17 steps in the process to make sure just that one part happens. You know, there's a lot of different parts of the formula, but yes, I did use, using magnets and using polarization, using fracking are all types of bioscience engineering and nanotechnology. And that's why when all these different companies, they say they're doing different things, or they say we have a similar product, I don't know. I mean, maybe they did something, but there's no way that they could have the product we have, because I didn't share that with anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. And Verena, that's actually, we discussed that in great detail in one of the YouTube videos on Clean Slate.
And as far as the omega fatty acids in Restore, you guys are going, yes, there are omega fatty acids in Restore, and you're going to see today when you get the summaries, I think it's the third article we discussed. It talks about the amino fatty acids that are just in black cumin seed, but you also have those in resveratrol. You also have those in turmeric, raspberries, etc. But you will see in the articles you get today in the summary that is in part of one of the summaries, just so you guys know.
And Ruth is asking if if the root products can be used with somebody who has a pacemaker.
So that's a great question. I do know that there's, how do I say this? There's a person in the office, one of the people that I don't want to say who it is, one of the people that works with us that's on our products, and it's really helped significantly. And they do use all the products. The only one I would worry about a little bit would be the 0N. I wouldn't want someone to take, if you look at the ingredients in 0N, they're actually cardiovascular protective, right? But Dory, you and I both talked about this. If you use too much of anything that's amazing, even the black cumin seed, right? You wouldn't want to use 100 packets a day, right? I mean, you just, so the 0N, I think that one a day, if you're on a pacemaker, is fine. If you told me that they were taking 4 a day, I would say they needed to consult. And obviously everyone needs to consult with their doctor because we don't know their complete medical history. But that's the only ingredient or the only product that I would worry about as it pertains to that. And I think we're good. And next week, Dory's still going to be on here. I'm dragging her in to be on here with Dr. Keshkesha with me next week. One of the things you guys are going to get to see on these calls is what's called a peer-to-peer discussion. So we have all these case studies, and we had Dr. Tina and Dr. Keshkesh, as well as other doctors that are aside from Root. So what I mean by that, they're not Root customers. They're not Root ambassadors. They've been using our products behind the scenes and studies, and the doctors have been reviewing them. And so we're going to have these discussions where you hear the doctors and the research scientists talking about it. In some of those discussions, I'm going to step out. And if you ask me why, it's because I made the products. So I don't want to be biased. I want to be fair. I want them to discuss any positive and negative findings. One of the things that I hope you guys value is the fact that I worked for pharmaceutical and biotech, and I've said this before, our products only worked usually for one indication, 40% of the time, 50% of the time. So I was used to failure. I was used to things not working. I was used to side effects, and it doesn't hurt my feelings, even if I'm the scientist that works on it. But I do want to step back and give people the opportunity to have open discussions without my interference in those, so that you guys hear the whole truth, the good and the bad. You guys should never feel bad if there's someone that comes to you and says, well, I think this product was negative. Your answer has to be, this is a really good product that helps a lot of people. If it's not helping you, maybe you need to lower the dose, or you need to try one product at a time. Because one of the things I want to make sure you guys know is I love people trying all products at once. However, there may be one ingredient in one product that causes an issue. And if you ever see that, you want them to stop taking all 3 and just focus on one at a lower dose, and then see what happens for a couple of weeks, and then go to the next one. But you have to be open and honest with everyone. If it's not a fit for them, then you have to understand there's no way that all 3 products are not going to be useful, because there's so many great ingredients in all 3 of them. So you just want to make sure you hear your customers. They're people, and you can't negate it and tell them they're wrong. You have to listen to how they feel. So
thank you, Christina. That was amazing.
Thank you, Claire.
It's so valuable for us as a community. It's brilliant. Bless you, Dory.
Thank you, Claire.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Dory. So I think we're done for today. And you guys, I have so many thankful words to say to you all, to the Root community. I've never been a part of a community where I felt like there were so many good people really trying to do the right thing in their area. Like, I know there's Harry, and I hear about him. He's got his area, right, of people that he's a major influence in. And then you've got Claire, and then you've got Mika. You've got all of you guys that are influences in your own area. And I want to tell you guys, love each other for who you are. celebrate the differences, because it's amazing that we all have this opportunity to be part of a community together. I feel like I'm closer to you all sometimes more than people in my own town, because I get to interact with you guys. So thank you so much. And I look forward to next week where we talk more about the science.
Part
Bless you.
1.
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Much love.
Everyone say
Ciao.
goodbye. See you next week.
Bye.
Okay.
So much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so
Make it a
much.
beautiful day. Thank you.
Bye.
Love you.
Goodbye.
With you.
Love on.
Wonderful community.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome.